All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is Conversations with the Crawleys. We have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and we do recaps, reviews, and commentary on some of our shows that we're watching, some of our favorite shows. This one is all about family or fiancé, and this one is Brandy and Akin. I was about to call him Akin. Akin is his name. All right, so if this is content that you enjoy, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications.
And share.
And we'll see you in the comments. And if this is your first time, where you been? All right, anyway, let's jump into it.
Join. Subscribe.
Yeah, all that. All right.
Stop pretending to be our friend and subscribe.
You said pretending to be our friend.
You're not subscribing.
Is that the value of friendship? All right, let's go into
Nowadays.
it. All right. So Brandy and Akin, they are, first of all, they're an interracial couple.
What?
Just
Really? You had to bring that out?
well, it will play a part into some of this, right?
Really?
Yep, it will. But they've been together for over 2 years.
Correct.
He slid into her DMs,
And she accepted.
her Facebook DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Facebook Messenger, listen, I'm going to tell you, if you're a CashApp scammer, you're going to get trolled day and night. So, but he slid into the DMs. She accepted.
She accepted.
They made a relationship out of it.
Right.
For a little over 2 years. Been engaged for about 7 months. So,
He lives in Louisiana. She lives in Atlanta.
yep. So, there is an age difference also. He is 49, about to turn 50. She is 37.
About to turn 38.
I guess, yeah.
Maybe. I'm just saying, since we had to say he's about to turn 50.
Well, he made a big point of saying he gonna be 50 soon.
I'll be 50 soon.
And their sticking issue, the main sticking issue that they have is that she wants kids. He doesn't. He's got a 19-year-old son already, so that's going to be their issue that they're going to figure out. He's bringing his sister, his nephew, and his friend. She is bringing her mom, her sister, and her best friend. All right?
Wow.
And so the families have never met.
Which I thought strange in 2.5 years. And they say that they spend time together, actually coming together at some point, not just online.
Yeah.
That if you felt it was a very serious relationship, why hasn't he been down to see, her family?
Right.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
2.5 years?
In 2.5 years, granted, they're going back and forth between each other's spot, right? Louisiana and Atlanta. At some point,
You would think.
you would think,
You was
hey,
like, Mom.
we're going to have dinner with my mom. We're going to have dinner with my sister.
Sisters.
Something.
Well, maybe the mom has met him, because it was the sister said that she never met him, right?
Yeah, but they said at the beginning that neither have met the other's family.
That's
so
true. So I'm assuming the whole family.
But listen, throughout this entire episode, stories changed throughout the entire episode.
It did.
So
It did change.
they could have all met and had a family reunion together, and nobody remembers. All right. So they meet with Tracy, and she gives them their task. They name the task something, but it's always ask questions.
Communication is a very big key in getting to know anybody and to resolving any issue.
True. But she's like, okay, your task is going to be called Ask Me Anything. You're going to put questions, and they're going to write questions, and you're going to respond to them. And then yours is cook and answer. They're going to write questions, and you're going to answer them. All right. Anyway, that's just something I noticed. I'm like, why do we keep naming these tasks? So then the family arrives, right? So her family arrives first.
Yes.
And on the way up, Mama let it be known that she's concerned because Brandy has told her that Akin has used the N-word.
Correct.
Sister is like,
What? Say again?
wait, what?
When does that? How?
He
Who?
he didn't say never. He said
When?
All right. So her family arrives, and basically the sister's like, we're going to have to talk because there's some stuff I found out. We're going to talk and we're going to clear all this up.
It'll make sense after a while.
Yep. His family arrives, and they're just kind of like, hey, good to see you, what have you, right? So then the family meeting, and the family meeting is where everybody starts to tell what their concerns are. His friend Aaron is like, look, I just need y'all to be on the same page as far as the baby. Either y'all gonna have a baby or you're not. You're gonna half on a baby or what? All right?
Half on a baby.
Half on a baby.
I understand.
Okay. Go half on a baby. All right. And then also figuring out their location, because long distance relationships can only work for so long.
And you need to be in the same spot.
Yep. His sister Ilkin is concerned about the age difference. She's like, you pushing the age a little. She still got some years left on her, so what that gonna look like for y'all?
Especially when someone wants to have a child.
Yeah.
Which would make sense if they're in their 30s and she's never had a child. I understand why she wants one.
Absolutely. Makes sense. I get it. And then the nephew, Baruch, he's curious basically where she falls, because he's like, Uncle, you got two loves. You love your son and you love your restaurant. Where does Brandy fall in all that?
So it's a valid question.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then on her side, her mom, Claudia, is, I'm concerned about kids because you keep saying you want kids. He keeps saying he don't want kids. I don't know how that's going to work with y'all getting married and y'all trying to figure out who's going to have kids.
Because she don't sound like she want to be just a bonus mom. And the child is old enough that he does have. He's in college.
He's in college.
So he probably, right.
So the sister, Angel, basically is like, I've never met you, but I got a bone to pick. I heard recently that you've been using the N-word. Now, what was interesting, he didn't look at her and deny it.
He looked at Brandy.
Right. He looked at Brandy like, you gonna help me out here?
No, he looked at her like, you told.
That too.
That's what I got. I was like, well, why are you looking at Brandy?
And then in the cutaway, he says fake news. So then, I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
I'm going to leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
I'm going to leave that alone.
Leave it alone.
So then the friend Aisha, who's pregnant herself, her best friend, saying again, she's concerned about the racial insensitivities, right? And he then says, well, this is all new to me, these racial accusations. I've never heard this before.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Fake news. That's what he said. All right. And then he says he feels that they have zero reason to judge him because they just met him. They're not judging him.
No, they were given information through Brandy.
And they're concerned.
And why would Brandy say something about her own partner that would tarnish how he would look? So, which I feel it's a red flag.
Absolutely.
Because it's inappropriate to use. And since the mother has a concern, when Brandy brought it up to her mother, Brandy must have shared the way it came up. So I'm like, why wasn't that? Like, I'm cutting this off.
That's the deal breaker for me. Sorry.
This is a red flag. You can apologize. I accept apologies. But I don't have time to teach nobody.
Nope.
And I'm open to people loving whoever you want to love.
Absolutely.
But you're not going to be, that word shouldn't be coming up in my relationship.
I don't even like using it. I don't even use the word.
Right. If I'm dating and I'm dating I'm in an interracial relationship with someone, there has to be a clear understanding of some part of my culture.
Right.
I know you may not be familiar with everything,
right,
but you know the do's and the don'ts.
Exactly.
So we never got a clear understanding why this wasn't
the deal breaker or a red flag for her.
Correct.
So they do meet with each other's family. So Brandy is sitting with his family. And they immediately bring up, what's this we hear about this N word? And she's like, well, imagine you went to your mom and said that your partner used the word, and how your mother would feel. And they're like, yeah, I kind of get that. His friend is black and homosexual.
Correct.
Right? So he's like, I need to understand, because if he's going to use that one, no telling what else he'll use.
Correct. Because from his understanding, since they've been friends, he's never gotten that side of Akin.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's been in any type of relationship with someone, they want to make sure that behind their back,
Yep.
they ain't talking crazy.
Yep. Because I won't tell the story, but yes, definitely, absolutely. But she then clarifies also, saying, well, it wasn't used towards her, it was used in a different way. Again, I don't care what way it's used.
It shouldn't be used. It shouldn't be used.
And then they as far as Brandy's conversation with his family, they get onto the question of kids, and she said that he said from the very beginning that it would be the right woman for him to have kids. And so her assumption is, well, I'm getting married to him, so I must be the right woman. Why is he now saying he doesn't want to have kids? And then she makes the mistake that I think too often happens in relationships. She says, well, she's just going to have to change his mind.
You can't change people's mind. I'm so sorry. When someone makes up their mind about something, even in the beginning, if they said one thing and then they consistently say something after that,
Right.
you need to take the time to communicate and say, hey, you said one thing at the beginning.
Yep.
Now we're 9 months in, and now you're saying something different. I need to know for sure. No hopping, skipping. I need very clear words. Do you want to have a child?
Right.
And then based off of your answer, I make my life decision.
Yep.
But it seems like we're going to take what the person says at the very beginning of when they met.
And hold them to that 2.5 years later.
And hold them to that, even though they've said something different.
Yep. So in him talking with her family, he says that he never used the N-word. He's never used it. He works in his restaurant. His employees may have used it because his employees are black. But whoever told them that lied. He was very adamant.
Oh, he was very adamant.
That whoever said that lied. Says he's not racist. He's the least racist person you know.
You know, I don't know, but it's always concerning to me when people say they're not racist. It's just gives such it's an overtone that I feel that people need to understand that the only person who could have said it in this situation would have been Brandy. And he's now calling his partner a liar.
Yep.
And I think that needs to be pointed out very point blank. So I know as we go on with this episode, he answers the rest of their questions. And one of the questions is, do you want to have a child?
Yeah.
And he said, no. I am almost turning 50. I cannot see myself older and having a baby.
Yeah.
Understandable. We are in our late 40s, early.
I just turned 50.
You just turned 50. I can still have a kid right now. I refuse.
Not with me.
I refuse to bring another child in this world.
Yeah.
So I get his perspective and I get her perspective. It just don't seem like they're compatible together.
Right. So he says in that conversation with her family, he says that he does not want her to compromise, but again, like you said, he makes it very clear he does want another child. He says he wasn't even entertaining the idea, but then again, stories change. Then he says that he may have come across as he was entertaining the idea. So
just say you running game. if you just
You
want,
saw her.
you liked
The
her.
first date, you was like, whatever I gotta say to get a second date with this woman, I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna do that. I'd rather you be honest and say that. Like, you know, I was leading her on a little bit because I wanted to see more of her and talk to more of her.
Mm-hmm.
So, just say that.
Just be honest. Say it with your chest. So then family dinner. And so, you know, they're kind of talking, recapping their tasks with each other, right?
Yes.
And then basically comes up again about the N-word being said. And so mom is like, what happened there? Talk to me. What took place?
Well, it was his sister.
Oh, that's right.
She
It's
was
his sister.
concerned.
Yes.
She's like, we came over here. We didn't speak the language. And, you know, how her transition of living in America, because everyone has a transition period.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think there are all kinds of bias. And so she was concerned about that. And that's how they come up with the conversation.
And they are Turkish. So he's Turkish. So he's like, I'm not really white. I'm not black. I'm kind of in between. But you can pass. You can pass. If you didn't tell me you were Turkish, I thought maybe he was Italian.
Yes.
Because he does have an Italian restaurant.
He kind of, and he has an olive skin tone.
Right. So, yeah. But Brandy, you know, when asked about what took place with that context, whatever, she's like, well, I don't remember what he said, but he's not racist.
So, being dismissive doesn't resolve that type of issue. And again, your partner is going to be around you, which it seems like you're going to be around a lot of African Americans as well. And so for me, I think it's just, I guess that's an understanding that they have to come to, because personally, that's a red flag for me.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to train anyone to be more sensitive or to understand. If you don't understand everything that's been going on to realize that you shouldn't be using that word at no time, then that's between you and the partner. So.
And then he says, again, he reaffirms that he never said that he wanted a baby. Now that was a trigger for her, because then she's like, okay, you calling me a liar about the N-word. You calling me a liar about saying you saying that you never said you wanted to have a baby. She's like, stop calling me a liar. That's what got a reaction out of her.
Again, the other part didn't matter to her. It's what mattered to her. And if that wasn't a problem for her, it wasn't a problem for her.
Yeah. So the mom rushes because she gets up from the table.
Yeah, I would be mad. You call me a liar.
Yeah.
On the first thing, I'm going to stick to my right. You did say something. Now, I would rather her elaborate.
Absolutely.
And say, okay, this is in the context.
This is the context.
He used it in, and I corrected him. And since then, we haven't had an issue.
Right.
I haven't had an issue from him before, blah, blah, blah.
But I'll just point out, if it was an issue enough for you to tell your mom, it's an issue. If it were just, they were riding in the car and they were singing along with the song, and there's the N-word was in it, and he said it as part of the song, and she's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't say that. That's one thing. But for her to at least go to her mother and say, yo, he said the word.
And for a mother to be upset, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, she takes off running. Mom goes to console her first. Akin goes and then finally comes and consoles her. And then now he says, well, yeah, I did say it on the first date, but that was 2 years ago, so that shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. My age has changed my answer. I don't want to do that anymore.
You were only 2 years younger, so you were in your late 40s.
So you'd be 70, well, you'd be 68 as opposed to 70 or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
So day 2, they have the meeting with Tracy. And he reiterates again, I am not having a kid. Period. Right? He says he did say it on the first date, so he tells Tracy, yeah, I did kind of say it on the first date, but he's been consistent since then. Calling her Sabrina. I'm sorry.
No, Brandy.
Yeah. Brandy is like, well, he should have been honest on day one.
I
agree.
Can't disagree with that. But after that, he indicated as your relationship goes on that he doesn't want to have kids.
Yeah.
And you can't convince anyone who's made a decision, especially about bringing someone on the earth, that they're going to have kids. And you don't want to surprise somebody and say, well, maybe I'll just have it.
And stop taking your birth control.
I've seen people do it.
Yep. Start poking holes and stuff.
And ruin relationships and people being bitter and just the fighting and all that. So you don't want that either.
Right.
And he understands totally. He's like, I want to be there. Right. I want to be there as 100% father, which granted, any person would respect that he's saying, I got business ventures, there's traveling I want to do. And when you have a kid, you can't do that as much to enjoy your trips.
Right.
Or they have to be centered around the child.
Yeah.
So totally get it. And you don't want to be traveling without your kid all the time. So she's calling him selfish for not wanting to have a kid. And he's like, what? And then Terry addresses, like, how can you call him? Tracy. Tracy. Excuse me, Tracy. Tracy. And saying, how can you call him selfish? Aren't you being selfish saying you want to have a kid when he tells you he doesn't want to have a kid and you're going to change his mind? You know?
Yeah. And Tracy was like, look, yeah, he could have been honest on day one, but you could have been honest the remaining 782 days.
That you've been together.
That he didn't want to have a kid. So she assigns them the task of going and meeting with their own family to kind of talk through and really get some clarity on what they're looking for and what they're wanting. She sends her to the beach, and his family's just sitting out on the patio or whatever, right? And so she's talking with her family. She's like, she would be ready to have a child right now. That's what she wants. And she does acknowledge that he has things that he wants to do, like you mentioned, the consulting. He wants to travel. But she says that that's her soulmate. Can we just address the soulmate thing real quick?
Please, address it.
We're not fans of that whole soulmate thing because it's a choice. I don't believe that God is sitting in heaven saying,
there's only one person.
This is the only person for you in your life. This is your soulmate. I think that you can find somebody that you're very compatible with, because there are people that you might be very compatible with. The timing may be bad. You're going in different directions,
Correct.
What have you, right? So for her to say this is my soulmate, I get that she feels like this is her match, what have you. But there's one glaring piece where they're not matching.
And it's a major piece.
It's a major piece.
Now, maybe if he met her 20 years before he had a child with somebody else, then yeah, they would have been a perfect match.
Right.
But she cannot assume that she's not going to meet someone else and fall in love who would love to have children with her.
Yep.
You know, because even she makes a statement and her family's like, well, we're not saying that you just find some random person.
Right. Don't go random with it.
And just have a kid. You know, we want you, and everyone desires to have a mate that's going to be there and raise a kid together. So, and there is ways to help a child without you giving birth to them and being a mother figure to them. But granted, having the experience of having a child, someone wants to know that they're from their DNA and everything, but you want to do it with someone who wants to do it.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate he doesn't want to do it. And we get caught up in, it's finally happening. I think a lot of times you get caught up, I'm finally getting married. Here's going to be my opportunity. Maybe I can change his mind because now I'm closer than I ever been to getting married. And I think it's also a disservice when people choose people who are in the stage of their life where bearing children could be very important to them.
Right.
You know, I think when you're even talking about dating someone, it has to be very clear your intentions. Like if someone tell me, well, if I found the right person, okay, what does that really mean? Because
And how soon would you want to be having kids?
and how soon you have been kids. You ask very deep questions because you can't be playing with 2 years and you're in your mid 30s.
It's a different conversation when you're 21, 23, 24 than when you're 37, 39, 42, right? It's a different conversation. And so if time is a factor, and yes, your biological clock is ticking on whatever side it's ticking on, right? You have to have those conversations.
You
So
got to.
it was not fair of him to, even in the first date, entertain that idea, but it wasn't fair of her also to try and hold him to that.
Yeah.
And he's telling you day in and day out for 2.5 years, I don't want to have no kids. I'm good. So he talks with his family. And basically one of the things that he said, which was very telling, he said that they never really faced their problems because it could damage their relationship. If you don't deal with the issues, you are damaging your relationship already. Period, point blank. Avoiding an issue does not make the issue go away.
It doesn't. And I keep hearing, we were just communicating so well. You're not communicating well if you're not even dealing with issues.
No.
It's a part of communication.
Yes.
Conflict resolution, as I'm seeing, is more and more people don't want to face when they potentially could have a conflict.
Crucial conversations are crucial.
They are.
You have to have them.
You got to have them because she could have saved a lot of time saying
She could have saved 2 years, found somebody else, and already be pregnant and married by now.
it's possible.
Possibly, right?
It's possible.
So,
So
yeah, so his nephew is like, look, I definitely get it. I know who you are, and I know kind of how you want to father. I know this is probably not going to be it. And he starts to, Akin, I keep wanting to call. Akin wants to, he basically is like, if she decides not to have a child, she's going to resent me. Yes. And if she forces him to have a child, he's going to resent her. So there's going to be resentment either way. So he's basically, you kind of get from there that they're done, but they go and have a conversation. Akin and Brandy. And he does say, he's like, look, it's not fair of you to say that I don't love you because I don't want to have a child with you.
I understand that.
He's like, love is not the issue. Their issue is not love. They have love for each other.
Right.
The issue is a deal breaker that both of them have that is standing in the way of their love being fulfilled.
Correct.
So, and now he says that he may not have been very honest in the beginning. Yeah, you weren't.
You think?
So
I'm like, you got to be honest. When you want to say, hey, I'd rather people say, I'm lonely. I want someone to talk to.
I'm lonely.
I'm lonely.
So lonely.
I want someone to talk to. I want to have a good time. So then when that person says that, oh, they're a creep, blah, 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 blah. But you're being honest.
Yeah.
And then that person can make a decision. Do I want those same things or do I want more out of a relationship?
True.
Because there are people out there who just want to have a good time, who don't want to be lonely either.
Right.
And you can find those people.
Yep.
But putting all this through so that you can have heartache later on, it's
Not good.
it's not good.
So then the next day, day 3, they do have their meeting with Tracy. And Tracy's like, you both have been in denial.
Yep.
You've both been denying where this relationship really is. His hard no means that she is, and she's, he again gives his hard no. And Brandy's like, well, that means I'm going to have to walk away. As you mentioned, she did say that their communication was solid. No, they did not have good communication.
They did.
Because they were speaking 2 different languages.
They were.
He was saying, I'm not going to have a kid. She interpreted that as, you're thinking about not having kids. That's really what she was saying.
Right.
You're not really considering. You're kind of thinking about it. You could go either way. He's like, no, my no means no. And they just both have to move on.
Yeah, and I think she's crying, and he's like, I'm moving on. The past is the past.
I'll go slide in some other DMs.
Past is the past.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. And so, granted, everyone, how they want to express how they're feeling about the moment, I'm going to give them that.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that you have to go on a TV show to be able to have someone else to tell you to communicate and to be honest.
To listen to what each other is saying.
To listen to what
and make the decisions that are best for you, right?
Make the decision that's best for you.
And so they both say they feel relieved. So instead of a blessing ceremony, they go and they let the families know what's happening. There is going to be no wedding. The sister is kind of sad.
Yeah.
She was like, I was hoping that things would work out for you all. The nephew's like, yeah, it's the right decision. And so it was not unexpected. No one was like, no, my goodness, no, can't be true. Everybody kind of knew based upon how that weekend went that, yeah, this is probably going to be the best thing. So in the credits, we do see that they are still friends, but not romantically involved.
Correct.
He's focused on business and traveling and doing doing what he needs to do. She's hoping to meet someone and have a child and get married. So,
wish them well.
We do wish them well. Yeah. Unfortunately, they 2 years. I hate to say a waste of 2 years.
No, because it does tell you that this is a deal breaker for you.
Yes.
It does tell you what you want out of a relationship and how you can work better on communicating and listening. So I don't think when people meet other people, they learn so much from one another.
Absolutely.
So this is a great opportunity, even though, again, it's because she's so later in life. And not that she can't have any kids or whatever. Right. But it just, her risk is higher for her. Right. It's a higher risk for
that safe window is closing.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's it for this one. Let us know what you think in the comments. And then make sure you check out the other videos that we do on other shows like Ready to Love, Married at First Sight, Put a Ring on It, and some of the other things that we have done. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we are having fun over here having these conversations.
We are having fun.
Yes, we are. Have a good one. We'll see y'all next time. Be blessed.
Bye.